Hello, welcome to Vlog 17. If you're an astute watcher, you might be wondering what happened to Vlog 16. Very briefly, about the beginning of the year, in response to 45's announcement to run, I wrote a very kind of reactionary outline about the surgery. And about the time that I finished the main outline, River noticed that I was getting very stressed, and we talked about it and had seen how people like Jessie Gender had put out their video against J.K. Rowling and gotten like incredible backlash. And I was like, you know what? I don't want anything to do with that. So we're skipping that one. We're now on 17. So this video is mostly about gigging and recording. I've been doing that for roughly 25 years. Started my first EP with the band SWK in or around somewhere between 96 to 98. We did our second EP shortly after that, and later on, we went to the same studio and recorded the first, or the only, Mungs album that we made. And then in college, I learned how to record myself and recorded the first two Bremerton Dub Rockers albums. We made a demo for Second of Silence. We made the last Dub Rockers album, and I've been recording ever since. So it's something that I've been obviously very interested in. But the other side to like what a lot of folks view as like the two main arms of promotion for music is gigging. And so again, with SWK, we played a handful of shows. With the Mungs, we played a handful of shows. With Bremerton Dub Rockers, we actually played exactly 50 shows. Played a handful of shows with Second of Silence, played a handful of shows with Concrete Captives, played exactly one show with Ma'atotrope, and I've not gigged at all for Lower CK. So with the exception of SWK, every time I've played a gig, I've been at least a little bit intoxicated. To be very transparent means I was either like a little bit drunk or I had smoked a little bit of weed or both. And that basically helped me get over my anxiety. I have social anxiety. So that helped me kind of like work through that before I was actually diagnosed and got medication for it. So speaking of neurodivergent stuff, I started Lower CK as a project I'd been thinking about like for a couple years anyway, and the tail's end of Concrete Captives when I was becoming less happy. And I wanted to do something by myself. But like the recording arm of Lower CK started because I was recently diagnosed as having bipolar, and my therapist recommended that I do something as a creative outlet in order to kind of like channel this manic energy that I was having at the time. So the first three Lower CK albums or EPs got put out very quickly within 6 months of each other. And a lot of it was just like stuff that I had written for Dub Rockers, stuff I had written for Concrete Captives. And then Giant Step Gently was just like, I wrote a bunch of song titles and then I just wrote the songs within like a week or two, or maybe a month. I don't know, it's been a while. So when Lower CK started, even though I had kind of thought about doing perhaps some live shows, like it was mainly a recording thing. About the time that I had finished the first EP, I thought, well, I should do some kind of live video. And I did. I released a video on YouTube that I've since taken down because I think the quality is really bad. The quality of my playing, that is. It was called Becoming Lower CK, and I just really wasn't happy with it. It was like me playing my guitar through my amp and just singing, and like it was pretty raw. Like obviously I needed more practice than what I had given going into that. A couple years down the line, around I think 2020, I put out an album called Enjoy the Moment. And my idea about this, because at this point I still had not played any live gigs, was that the album would be equivalent to seeing me live. So it's just acoustic guitar and just me singing without anything else. And honestly, I think it's like one of my least favorite records, partly because I don't think I'm singing really great on the record, and also the guitar tone is really bad. Like it's a very tinny guitar tone. I mixed it totally improperly. It could probably be fixed. If I went back and remixed it, it would probably sound better, but like who knows whether I'll ever get to that. So as I started through Lower CK, I began to think again, like, do I actually want to start gigging? Like, is this something I want to do as a solo musician? So I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about like all the times that I gigged in the past with other bands, and I realized, with the exception of SWK, I had been intoxicated for like that whole period. Concrete Captives gigged up till like 2014, I think, and I more or less quit drinking in 2016. So my whole gigging thing had been intoxicated to that point. So like I said, I'd been intoxicated for all of my gigging experience with the exception of SWK up to the point of Lower CK. And I wasn't sure if that was something that I wanted to do or not. And I was like, you know what? I'm so used to like being at gigs where like I had to drink, and a lot of the venues where you would have to play are bars and stuff that serve alcohol. And it just like, I thought about it, but like at the moment, it didn't really feel like anything that I was interested in. And I just like wanted to explore more of the recorded side of stuff, which is about the time that COVID hit anyway. And even though Enjoy the Moment came out like early COVID, I decided to kind of go all in and do a Rubber Soul or like post Rubber Soul Beatles move and just like go all in on the recorded output rather than playing live. I know I'm comparing myself to the Beatles. I'm obviously not the Beatles.
No, but I'm not saying that we're better or greater.
So I made The Great Emptiness with River, and that was like a pretty huge achievement. It was like the first Louis C.K. plus River full album that like everything I had done before that was either a compilation or an EP or an acoustic album. And about the time that I put it out, one of my old art teachers had suggested, I hope you're going to play shows behind this. And so again, the thought came up, maybe we could do this. And I brought it up to River, which is totally fair. So we just said, all right, no gigs. We're not going to do that. So we put off gigging again. To jump around a little bit, I did in vlog 11, I was talking about like, do I want to still keep doing vlogs and music and stuff like that, even though it's not getting like the attention that like I would have thought it would have gotten or that I had gotten, like say when I first put out Brampton Dub Rockers Walking the Streets, that got 1,800 views. And nothing I've done has been even close to that popular since. If we're talking about what I've done that's been the most influential, it's actually been adding a point of interest to Google Maps for a bikini barista stand, and that's gotten like 4 million views. So that's like the most reach I've had with anything, but like the most reach music thing was the Dub Rockers video. One of the other things that comes with, you know, if I were to gig is recognizability. And I had like a little touch of this recently because you may have seen that I put some of my artwork for display at the Bainbridge Island Museum of Art, which was very cool, and it's very nice of them to do that. I stopped by while the show was happening, didn't seem to get bothered, it was fine. But when I went to go pick up my art, several of the people who worked at the museum recognized me from the Bonbons video. The guy at the desk recognized me, let me in. It's like, okay, cool. Like, and it didn't click at first, like how he knew who I was. I was just like, all right. And then one of the people, like as I was taking down the art, was like, I have a question about your video. She was very kind, very demure, very mindful. And that was cool. She was low key. It was like very chill. I didn't feel threatened at all. The reason I'm bringing this up, like you may have seen Chappell Roan talking about like being harassed by people on the street, and I'm obviously not Chappell Roan, but I get that. Like I get that like for some people they consider that like if you go into any sort of public performance as a living, that like you're just gonna get paparazzi, you're gonna get people coming up to you on the street, like that just comes with the turf. I don't know whether I necessarily agree with that. I think like one of the people that I really look up to as far as like what they've done with their notoriety is Harry Nilsson, who like didn't perform any gigs. So I definitely think like you can be out of the spotlight while maintaining a music career. And I don't think just being famous gives people the right to like be weird or gross to you. Not that I've had that issue. Again, I'm just saying like I can see where Chappell Roan's coming from. So you might be like, well, Laura, you don't have really like much popularity at all. And that's fair. I've had like very limited success. Back in 2014, when I was like talking to someone about my gender and like trying to sort that thing out, they said a thing that stuck with me. And they were like, why do you want success? What's cess? And I was like, oh, like a cesspit? He was like, yeah, why do you want to suck cess? And I was like, okay. And I know it's just a play on words, but that kind of like, you know, there's the downside to everything, right? I think honestly, like something that stuck with me a little bit more recently is I watched the interview that Logan Soundoff did with Ian MacKaye from Fugazi, Minor Threat, Embrace, The Evens, Koriki. And Ian said, you know, if you manage to get a group of people together to practice, that's a great success. If you manage to get some people and write a song together, that's another great success. If you manage to record anything, huge success. So it's like kind of redefining like that success isn't just like chart success or like how many albums you sell or anything like that, like how many followers you have. success is like all these little things that happen along the way that add up to who you are as an artist and like what you've done. So like it may be an easy cop out for someone who's had like relatively little like, you know, popular success with my music, but like I do in some ways feel successful because like I think about like I've been able to achieve quite a lot. I put out a lot of music. I've done, you know, not for Lower CK, but over the years I've done a lot of gigs. I may not be famous, but like this is fun. I enjoy creating music, putting it out, that kind of thing. So I don't think I've ever actually like come out and said thank you to the people that have supported me along the way. So in particular, I want to say thank you to my patrons. I want to say thank you, Kira. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Twyla. I want to say thank you to the people who have supported me on my Threadless shop. So thank you, Amy. Again, thank you, Kira. Thank you, anyone who sent me a nice comment on YouTube or on, you know, supported me on Facebook. All very important. I appreciate all of you. And of course, anyone who watches this video, thank you for watching this video. All right. Hopefully that made some amount of sense. If not, too bad. I'll probably keep talking at you. But for now, I'm going to sign off. Take care. Bye-bye.